Grand Mirabelle Hotel towered over the city like a shimmering lighthouse, its rooftop terrace awash in golden lights and laughter. The cool breeze carried scents of fresh orchids, roasted duck, and expensive perfume. Waiters in crisp uniforms glided between round tables, balancing silver trays topped with champagne flutes. At the heart of it all, Dylan Rivers adjusted the cuffs of his tailored black tuxedo and smiled, the very picture of a devoted husband. Around him swirled a carefully curated crowd, investors, old friends, Serena's glamorous circle of influencers, and a few well-placed journalists. It was a night built on images, a night meant to shout perfect marriage to the world. Serena Rivers dazzled in a silver dress that caught the light with every movement. Her hair, an effortless cascade of gold, fell over one bare shoulder. She laughed easily, her hand resting lightly on Dylan's chest as photographers snapped photos. 10 years, darling, she whispered against his ear, her breath warm, her tone sugared. A lifetime, Dylan replied, masking the bitterness that rose like bile in his throat, because he knew. The text had been clear. A secret message meant for someone else. Tonight changes everything. Love you, sent to Marcus Reed, Serena's business partner, a name Dylan had pretended not to notice for months. Not anymore. Dylan pulled away slightly, offering a broad smile to the guests gathering around them. Champagne glasses clinked. The string quartet shifted into a lilting waltz. Lights from the terrace bled into the night sky like molten gold. As Serena basked in the glow of attention, Dylan's mind raced, not with panic, not with sadness, with precision. Tonight wouldn't be about anger or confrontation. Tonight would be about truth, laid bare, publicly. He excused himself under the pretense of greeting a late-arriving guest and slipped toward the event command center, a discreet booth tucked behind velvet curtains. Lila, the sharp-eyed event coordinator, was hunched over a tablet. "Mr. Rivers, everything all right?" she asked, concerned. "I need a favor," Dylan said, voice low. She hesitated, sensing something beneath the polished surface. "What kind of favor?" "Discretion," Dylan said. "And these cameras?" He gestured toward the terrace. Lila nodded slowly. "We record everything for security purposes." "Perfect. I'll need copies of tonight's footage. And I might need..." An extra lens pointed at Serena, especially when she's alone. Lila's eyes widened slightly, but professionalism quickly masked her curiosity. She tapped her tablet. "Done," Dylan offered a thin smile. "Thank you." Returning to the party, he caught sight of Marcus, tall, dark-haired, exuding a relaxed arrogance that now, to Dylan, seemed nauseatingly obvious. Marcus hovered near the bar, nursing a whiskey, stealing glances at Serena. Serena, for her part, glowed. She owned the night, moving from group to group, basking in admiration, her laughter sharp as a champagne cork pop. But Dylan watched closely. The brief touches, the secret smiles, the whispered promises passed like contraband between Serena and Marcus when they thought no one was looking. He saw it all, and it only steeled his resolve. When the first fireworks bloomed over the city, the finale Serena had so meticulously planned, Dylan raised his glass high. "Our toast," he called. The crowd turned expectant. Serena beamed, stepping toward him. Dylan offered her a fresh glass of champagne, carefully switched moments before. A glass tinged with just enough sedative to loosen inhibitions without incapacitating. Serena clinked glasses with him, unaware. "To Serena," Dylan said, voice warm and full of hidden edges. "For 10 unforgettable years." Cheers echoed around them. Serena drank deep, laughing, leaning into him, and the clock inside Dylan's mind began counting down. 5 minutes, 10. Enough time for the truth to spill out, sweet and deadly as the wine on her tongue. Tonight, the masks would fall, for everyone to see. The stars above seemed to pulse in rhythm with Dylan's racing heart. Serena was radiant, her cheeks flushed, her laughter just a touch too loud. The subtle sedative had started weaving its way through her system, just as Dylan intended. He guided her gently toward the edge of the terrace, where the crowds thinned and the city lights stretched into infinity below them. "Feeling all right?" Dylan asked, keeping his voice casual. Serena leaned heavily on the balcony railing, her smile dreamy. "Better than all right," she said, brushing her hand through her hair. "It's perfect tonight." Dylan mirrored her stance, standing close but not touching. You deserve it. We deserve it, she corrected with a lazy wink. But soon it will all be different. He tilted his head. Different how? Serena's eyes gleamed with a dangerous kind of giddiness. Tonight changes everything, remember? He chuckled softly. Remind me. She pouted, thinking. Marcus says, we won't have to pretend anymore. No more sneaking around. No more lies. Just us, building the empire we were meant to have. Her words, slurred at the edges, spilled out like overfilled wine. Dylan kept his face neutral, even as the storm brewed inside him. And me? He asked lightly. Serena giggled. Oh, sweetheart, you'll land on your feet. You're clever. But Marcus and I, we need more. Dylan's hand tightened around his glass. More. Freedom, she whispered. Real passion. The bitter taste of betrayal filled his mouth. So this, Dylan said, gesturing at the lavish party around them, was a farewell. Serena shrugged, completely unaware of the cameras capturing every damning word. A grand send-off, Dylan smiled thinly. Magnificent. She leaned in conspiratorially. After tonight, he'll send the papers. It'll look clean. Quick. No mess. He will, Dylan asked, voice deadly soft. Already drafted, she confided. Poor darling Dylan. The media will love the narrative. You'll play the wronged husband. Sympathy. Maybe even a promotion. It was almost impressive, Dylan thought, the sheer gall of it. Above them, the fireworks erupted again, bathing the terrace in blood-red light. Behind Serena, Lila stood discreetly at the tech booth, giving Dylan a small, almost imperceptible nod. Everything was ready. The next phase began smoothly. One last dance? Dylan asked, offering his hand. Serena, giddy, accepted. They waltzed slowly to the quartet's soft music, weaving through laughing guests. Every step was deliberate, Dylan steering her toward Marcus. As they neared, Dylan caught Marcus's gaze. The other man grinned, confident, oblivious. Dylan leaned close to Serena's ear. Tell me, he murmured, what's the first thing you and Marcus will do together? Serena laughed breathlessly. Run away? Buy a vineyard in Italy? Drink wine every night until we forget you ever existed? The words pierced sharper than any knife. Romantic, Dylan said smoothly. He spun her gracefully and, in one swift motion, turned toward the center stage. The music stopped. All eyes turned. Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan's voice echoed through hidden speakers, calm and charming. Before we cut the cake, I'd love to share a special highlight from tonight. The screens flickered to life. Serena swayed slightly, blinking at the sudden brightness. The first images were innocent enough, candid shots of smiling guests, clinking glasses, dancing. Then, subtly, the tone shifted. A stolen glance between Marcus and Serena, fingers brushing, whispered words caught by hidden mics. And then Serena's drunken confession on the balcony, projected larger than life before everyone she knew. The crowd's laughter died. Gasps filled the silence. Whispers spread like wildfire. Serena's face went slack, horror dawning as realization struck. Marcus dropped his drink with a crash, bolting toward the exits. And Dylan? He stood perfectly still, savoring every second. When the final clip ended, Dylan set down his microphone, adjusting his cufflinks casually. He turned to Serena, whose silver dress no longer shone, whose perfect image crumbled under the weight of exposed deceit. Happy anniversary, darling, he said. And he walked away, the sound of Serena's glass shattering on the marble floor barely registered in Dylan's mind. He walked steadily off the stage, feeling the weight of every eye tracking him, the collective gasp of 100 guests feeding the fire in his veins. Behind him, the screen went dark. Only the soft whimpering from Serena filled the sudden silence. Dylan did not look back. Instead, he headed toward the bar, weaving smoothly through the shocked and frozen guests. Whiskey, he said to the stunned bartender. Neat. The glass slid across the counter. Dylan caught it mid-slide, lifting it to his lips. The burn of the liquor was a sharp, necessary anchor. The night had only just begun. Across the terrace, Serena stumbled after him, one heel broken, her hair disheveled, silver makeup streaking down her cheeks. Dylan, she cried, her voice cracking. Some of the guests turned away, embarrassed. Others watched, wide-eyed, hungry for more spectacle. He turned slowly, savoring the image of her, the queen now stripped of her crown. "Dylan, please," she said, reaching for him. "It's not what you think." He raised an eyebrow. "No." Her mouth opened, but no words came. "Because from where I'm standing," Dylan said, his voice carrying easily over the hush, "it looks exactly like betrayal." A ripple of murmurs spread through the terrace. Serena's lower lip trembled. I was confused. It was the stress the business Marcus understood. Marcus understood a lot. Dylan interrupted smoothly, like how to destroy a marriage with whispered lies and stolen touches. She flinched visibly. "You plan to leave me," Dylan continued, taking a step closer. "After tonight, after the toasts and the fireworks, you would have signed the papers and vanished with him, building your empire on the ruins of everything we built." Tears streamed down her face now, but Dylan felt nothing. "Was it worth it?" he asked. Serena's hands balled into fists. "You don't understand." "Oh, but I do," Dylan said softly. "I understand perfectly." He set his empty glass on the bar with a soft clink. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dylan said, raising his voice slightly, "enjoy the rest of the evening." Without another glance at Serena, he turned and disappeared into the stairwell, leaving behind a stunned, silent crowd and a woman who had once been his entire world. Outside, the city roared on, oblivious. Dylan stepped into a waiting car, a black sedan he had arranged hours earlier. The driver, a discreet older man, nodded silently. As they pulled away, Dylan glanced back once. The Grand Mirabelle shrank in the distance, its golden lights dim against the infinite night. In his pocket, Dylan's phone buzzed, a text from Lila. "Footage secured. Backup copies made. Call me when you're ready." Dylan smiled grimly. It wasn't just a toast tonight. It was a beginning, a declaration. When trust becomes a weapon, only truth can cut deeper. And Dylan was just getting started. The morning after the anniversary party, headlines blazed across every major media outlet. Betrayal at the top. Serena Rivers exposed at Grand Gala. Business tycoon Dylan Rivers outs wife's affair in stunning public twist. Screenshots from the party footage circulated like wildfire on social media. Clips of Serena's drunken confession, Marcus's hasty escape, and Dylan's calm, chilling departure went viral. Dylan sat in his home office, the morning sun streaming through the tall windows, a fresh cup of coffee cooling on his desk. His laptop buzzed with emails, messages of support, shock, curiosity. Law firms offering representation. PR agencies begging to manage his comeback narrative. He ignored them all. Instead, he focused on Lila's file, a pristine compilation of video evidence, audio recordings, timestamps, and witness statements meticulously gathered during the event. A case gift-wrapped and airtight. Marcus had vanished overnight, resigning from his company and deleting his social media accounts. Serena, on the other hand, had holed up in a hotel downtown, hounded by paparazzi, her world collapsing hour by hour. Later that afternoon, Dylan met with his divorce attorney, Richard Hale, a shrewd, seasoned professional with a reputation for merciless efficiency. Richard tapped the file Dylan slid across the mahogany desk. "This," he said, "is gold. I want it fast," Dylan said. "And public." Richard smiled thinly. "You'll have everything you want. And then some." By evening, divorce papers had been filed, citing irreconcilable differences compounded by adultery and financial deceit. Copies of the footage accompanied the filing, ensuring there would be no question of fault. The media frenzy only intensified. Serena's endorsement deals evaporated. Brands pulled her sponsorships. Clients abandoned projects. Within 48 hours, she was facing breach of contract lawsuits and financial ruin. Meanwhile, Dylan maintained a careful silence. He appeared once on a primetime news interview, poised and controlled. "Betrayal," he said calmly, "isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a corruption of trust, and trust is everything." The public adored him. Sympathy flooded in. Investors admired his composure. His own business saw an unexpected surge in stock value. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. One evening, nearly a week after the party, Dylan received an unexpected visitor. Lila stood at his doorstep, clutching an envelope. "Everything's finalized," she said, handing it to him. "And there's something else." He opened the envelope. Inside were photos, images captured during the party that hadn't been shown publicly. Private meetings, money exchanging hands, contracts signed in dark corners. It wasn't just Serena's affair. It was a conspiracy, a calculated plan to siphon off Dylan's assets and reputation before abandoning him. He looked up at Lila, who met his gaze squarely. "You were never just collateral damage," she said quietly. "You were the target." A slow, grim smile spread across Dylan's face. "Then it's a good thing," he said, "that I never leave anything to chance." The night air was colder than usual as Dylan leaned against the railing of his balcony, the city humming below. The envelope from Lila rested on the small table beside him, its contents already burned into his mind. The betrayal hadn't been a simple affair. It had been a calculated takedown. And Dylan realized something important. Survival wasn't enough, not anymore. He needed to dismantle every last piece of the web Serena and Marcus had spun. Over the next week, Dylan worked with Richard Hale and a private investigative team. They mapped the conspiracy meticulously. Bank transfers from Dylan's business accounts to shell companies Marcus had set up. Fake consulting contracts Serena had negotiated that funneled money away discreetly. Fabricated scandals prepared to be leaked to discredit Dylan had he resisted the divorce. Every detail documented, every move anticipated. The trap had been comprehensive. But so was Dylan's counterstrike. He filed a series of lawsuits: embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy. Subpoenas hit Serena, Marcus, and 2 of their associates. Their assets were frozen pending investigation. Within days, Marcus was arrested attempting to flee the country.